Chapter 7, Control and Coordination. In the previous chapter, we have looked at life processes involved in the maintenance functions in living organisms. There, we had started with the notion we all have that if we see something moving, it is alive. Some of these movements are in fact the result of growth, as in plants. A seed germinates and grows, and we can see that the seedling moves over the course of a few days. It pushes soil aside and comes out. But if its growth were to be stopped, these movements would not happen. Some movements, as in many animals and some plants, are not connected with growth. A cat running, children playing on swings, buffaloes chewing cud, these are not movements caused by growth. Why do we associate such movements with life? A possible answer is that we think of movement as a response to a change in the environment of the organism. The cat might be running because it has seen a mouse. Not only that, we also think of movement as an attempt by living organism to use changes in their environment to their advantage. Plants grow out into the sunshine. Children try to get pleasure and fun out of swinging. Buffaloes chew cud to help break up tough food so as to be able to digest it better. When bright light is focused on our eyes or when we touch a hot object, we detect the change and respond to it with movement in order to protect ourselves. If we think a bit more about this, it becomes apparent that all this movement in response to the environment is carefully controlled. Each kind of change in the environment evokes an appropriate movement in response. When we talk to our friends in our class, we whisper rather than shouting loudly. Clearly, the movement to be made depends on the event that is triggering it. Therefore, such controlled movement must be connected to the recognition of various events in the environment followed by only the correct movement in response. In other words, living organisms must use some system providing control and coordination. In keeping with the general principles of body organization in multicellular organisms, specialized tissues are used to provide these control and coordination activities. Animals' nervous system. In animals, such control and coordination are provided by nervous and muscular tissues, which we have studied in class 9th. Touching a hot object is an urgent and dangerous situation for us. We need to detect it and respond to it. How do we detect that we are touching a hot object? All information from our environment is detected by the specialized tip of some nerve cells. These receptors are usually located in our sense organs such as the inner ear, the nose, the tongue, and so on. So, gustatory receptors will detect taste while olfactory receptors will detect smell. This information acquired at the end of the dendritic tip of a nerve cell, which is shown in figure 7.1a, sets off a chemical reaction that creates an electrical impulse. This impulse travels from the dendrite to the cell body and then along the axon to its end. At the end of the axon, the electrical impulse sets off the release of some chemicals. These chemicals cross the gap or snaps and start a similar electrical impulse in the dendrite of the next neuron. This is the general scheme of how nervous impulses travel in the body. A similar synapse finally allows delivery of such impulses from neurons to other cells and such as muscle cells or glands. It is thus no surprise that nervous tissue is made up of an organized network of cells or neurons and is specialized for conducting information via electrical impulses from one part of the body to another. Look at figure 7.1a and identify the parts of neuron where information is acquired. Second, through which information travels as an electrical impulse. Third, where this impulse must be converted into a chemical signal for onward transmission. Activity 7.1. Put some sugar in your mouth. How does it taste? Block your nose by pressing it between your thumb and index finger. Now eat sugar again. Is there any difference in the taste? While eating lunch, block your nose in the same way and notice if you can fully appreciate the food you are eating. Is there a difference in how sugar and food taste if your nose is blocked? If so, why might this be happening? Read and talk about the possible explanation for these kinds of differences. Do you come across a similar situation when you have a cold? What happens in a reflex action? Reflex is a word we use very commonly when we talk about some sudden action in response to do something in the environment. We say, I jumped out of the way of the bus reflexly, or I pulled my hand back from the flame reflexly, or I was so hungry my mouth started watering reflexly. What do we mean? A common idea in all such examples is that we do something without thinking about it or without feeling in control of our reactions. Yet, these are the situations where we are responding with some actions to change in our environment. How is control and coordination achieved in such situations? Let us consider this further. Take one of our examples. Touching a flame is an urgent and dangerous situation for us, or in fact for any animal. How would we respond to this? One seemingly simple way is to think consciously about the pain and the possibility of getting burnt and therefore move our hand. An important question then is, how long will it take us to think all this? The answer depends on how we think. If nerve impulses are sent around the way we have talked about earlier, then thinking is also likely to involve the creation of such impulses. Thinking is a complex activity, so it is bound to involve a complicated interaction of many nerve impulses from many neurons. If this is the case, it is no surprise that the thinking tissue in our body consists of dense networks of intricately arranged neurons. It sits in the forward end of the skull and receives signals from all over the body which it thinks about before responding to them. Obviously, in order to receive these signals, this thinking part of the brain in the skull must be connected to nerves coming from various parts of the bodies. Similarly, if this part of the brain is to instruct muscles to move, nerve must carry the signal back to the different parts of the body. If all of this is to be done when we touch a object, it may take enough time for us to get burnt. How does the design of the body solve this problem? Rather than having to think about the sensation of heat, if the nerves that detect heat were to be connected to the nerves that move muscles in a simpler way, the process of detecting the signal or the input and responding to it by an action which is output might be completely quickly. Such a connection is commonly called a reflex arc. Where should such reflex arc connections be made between the input nerve and the output nerve? The best place, of course, would be at the point where they first meet each other. Nerves from all over the body meet in the bundle in the spinal cord on their way to the brain. Reflex arcs are formed in this spinal cord itself, although the information input also goes on to reach the brain. Of course, such reflex arcs have evolved in animals because the thinking process of the brain is not so fast. In fact, many animals have very little or none of the complex neuron network needed for thinking. So it is quite likely that reflex arcs have evolved as efficient ways of functioning in the absence of true thought processes. However, even after the complex neuron networks have come into existence, reflex arcs continue to be more efficient for quick responses. Can you now trace the sequence of events which occur when a bright light is focused on your eyes? The next part, which is human brain, will be continued in the next part of the video. Thank you, and if you like it, please like, share and subscribe.